What's up? How you doing? Beautiful day today. We have a breeze going, looks like west to east at around 4, maybe 4.5 miles per hour. I don't feel it here, but I can see over there the trees. So, perfect weather. I mean, it just feels really nice out. Today we have flat iron steak. Flat iron steak, which, you know, is a good cut. Not that expensive compared to ribeye. We're gonna put a little bit of salt and pepper on it. I could put whatever I want. I could put gunpowder on it. I could put sawdust. I could put spicy, you know, whatever. I eat spicy food, so. But anyway, today we're gonna do the way the steak, you know, has to be for me. Salt and pepper. But when I was down in Louisiana, even here, I get Mexican food all the time, extra spicy. But Louisiana, perfect for me. The shrimp, oh man. Anyway, I've talked about that, but just awesome seafood. Have some honey here, not for the steak, but for tea later. Brand new, just bought it. So this is Heavenly Honey, wildflower. Wildflowers all over the place in the desert, but this is from Ojai, California. Ojai is beautiful. Beautiful town, city. So I haven't had honey in tea in a while. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make some tea later on and honey. You know what I've never done? Coffee and honey. Why? Because that sounds a bit disgusting. Does not sound appealing, but coffee and tea sounds good. Sometimes even a few drops of lemon. Anyway, so we have flat iron steak here, fresh. Look at that. Small pieces. I let them stay at room temperature for a bit so that they cook evenly, although it might not make much of a difference. But these are nice and tender. I've had them, there used to be a restaurant. It was called Pete's. I don't think it's there anymore. It was a brand new restaurant years ago, and on the menu they had flat iron steaks. And I'll tell you this, we would go at night a lot of times. Usually we'd go daytime, like around 2 o'clock or so, 1 o'clock. But a few times we went nighttime. And good place. But I haven't been down in that area in a while, but I don't think it's there anymore. So we're going to put a little bit of salt and pepper. Flip them around. I also bought peppers. I left them inside. I bought some Anaheim peppers. I think about 7 of them. I will grill them, and then I put them in a brown paper bag so they sweat, or whatever the process is, and then I peel the skin right off. I dice it up. I add salt and pepper, balsamic vinegar, and I don't know, you could add lemon, lime. Anyway, we're gonna let that sit for a little bit. So I have honey here, and my father was an amateur beekeeper. He did not make a living at that, but he did it kind of like a hobby. And there was a time where he lived at a place where there was open land where you can legally have beehives. and there were no people around, so you didn't have the fear of people getting stung and all that. So he was a big fan of royal jelly. Royal jelly. And he would get royal jelly and mix it in the honey with a big stick. And then every morning, before we leave for school, he would give us a big tablespoon. I felt like Queen Bee in the house. So it was good. It tasted really good to me. I was very excited every morning to get a big tablespoon of royal jelly in honey. And anyway, so many years went by, and he found a better source. So then he bought a bunch of it, and he would sit in the kitchen there on the table, and he would mix large amounts of honey with this royal jelly. So one day I said, let me try what royal jelly tastes like without being mixed, pure. And he says, you're not gonna like that. It's not gonna, that sounds like a Hellcat. I said, let me try a little bit. So he gave me a little bit, and I tried it, and not the best tasting. I could take it, but it had a bit of a, I don't know how I would know this, but it was almost like what I would imagine urine in a subway system. The way that smells, that's the way that tasted to me. But when you mix it with honey, it's really good. So yeah, when we moved to a place where there were like neighbors and everything, and my father was trying to figure out a way where he can get a bee colony going there, and they told him, oh, you can't do that. You need X amount of feet. So then every time we would drive somewhere, like say like Maine or something, and he would notice a big vast area of forest, he would say, maybe I can get some land here and do that. I go, who's gonna watch after these? You can leave them alone forever? I mean, eventually you have to come and check. And then he thought maybe just find a forest that's empty, like in terms of ownership, and then just set something up there, and then show up once in a while and collect the honey. But one time he did do something like that. This is way back in the 70s, and I remember he collected this big, large amount of beeswax. It's like a big chunk, that big, about 1.5 inches thick, and I used to love smelling that beeswax. Something about it, so yeah. But yeah, I like honey. So there's a place out in the desert that it's on the way to go to the desert, but it's pretty much the border there. It's called Charlie Brown's, and I highly recommend that place. I always make a pit stop there when I head out in that direction. And they have an area in the back on the side, midsection side, that sells honey, or you buy honey there, and it's all local. They have wildflower. This is from Ojai, but they have wildflower, they have buckwheat, they have sage, I don't know, what else do they have? Eucalyptus. And I bought honey there in the past. Very good. Very good. But they have other interesting things there too. So I always stop there. I do a little tour. Sometimes I'll get a bunch of things. Sometimes I'll get a couple of things. Sometimes I say I don't need anything. And then I go in there and I realize I need some things. So yeah. And, bees are, I don't know, there's some kind of intelligence going on in there, even though it's all instinct. I mean, it's not like they have a brain to think. They have a little, I don't know what that is in there, flake. But they're able to do these magnificent things, like spiders too. Spiders make these webs, very elaborate, and yet they have a brain the size of a grain of sand. Maybe that's too much. And bees, they built these nice cone things, honeycomb. When I was a kid, we would go apple picking. We'd go apple picking, and two of the things that I would do was buy apple donuts they'd make these donuts, and then they'd have this really nice tasting oil they'd fry them in, and we'd get a bunch of those. But you had to eat them within, you know, an hour or so of buying them, because later on, like the next day, they lost that you know, texture that you're, you know, looking for. So anyway, we'd go down there, we'd get those things, the donuts. We'd get, of course, the apples, which when you would see them, yeah, get a bag, get 2 bags, get 3 bags, and then you'd get in the car, you'd eat like 3 apples, and you'd be like, that's enough of that. But they did have good apple juice there, apple cider, really good. But the thing that I liked, honeycomb. I would go grab one, and then I'd sit in the back of the station wagon chopping pieces of it and eating it. And then at some point, like 75% through the entire honeycomb, I would get overwhelmed. That feeling, you know, when you've had too much of sweetness, too much sugar, and it just makes you feel like, that's too much. I would get overwhelmed, and then I'd stop for a bit. But that was like once a year. I didn't do that all the time. And it was cheap back then. I think to buy a honeycomb, like about that size, was like $3.99, $4. That's not much. Now, I think it's like $21. 21. Inflation or something, right? So anyway, I had an uncle who would say anyway, even when it didn't fit. Everything was anyway. Be sitting there for a while silent, then he would like want to say something, and he would begin by saying anyway. And became like a joke in the family that you know, he knows how to say anyway. So anyway, I'm going to get my Anaheim peppers. I'm going to start the grill, and then I'm going to put these 2 lovely steaks on the fire, medium rare. Don't kill your steak and make it dark brown, because what happens is you lose a lot of the flavor and a lot of the tenderness. You want the outside to be nice and crusty, and you want the inside to be pink. Now, that's just preference. You may like it, you know, really cooked, like my mother. My mother wants to put this inside a volcano, leave it there for about an hour, and then eat it. Yeah, I don't like to overcook. But look at that. So, that's it. I'll be back later, maybe with a cup of tea.